The night had begun like any other for Daniel, a quiet man with tired hands and honest eyes, a single father who had grown accustomed to working double shifts at the hardware store and odd carpentry jobs to keep food on the table for his little girl, Emily. His life was not glamorous, nor was it filled with riches, but it was built on love, resilience, and the quiet dignity of sacrifice. That evening, he had almost refused his old friend Mark's invitation to a party. Daniel never felt like he belonged at gatherings where people wore polished shoes and spoke of vacations abroad, but Mark had insisted. "Come on, brother. You need one night where you're not carrying the weight of the world. Besides, it's just a small get-together, music, food, laughter. Nothing fancy." Against his instinct, Daniel agreed, tucking his only decent shirt into worn trousers, the ones Emily had ironed so carefully that morning as though she were preparing her dad for a job interview. The party was alive with music and chatter when he arrived. Candles flickered in the backyard, wine glasses clinked, and laughter floated through the cool night air. Daniel stood near the edge of the crowd, feeling slightly out of place, but smiled politely when strangers greeted him. He had never been a man of wealth, but he was rich in warmth, the kind that made people feel safe around him. And it was there, standing by the old oak tree, that he met her. Her name was Claire. She was introduced casually by Mark. "Daniel, this is Claire, a friend of mine." She looked ordinary at first glance, simple dress, no ostentatious jewelry, her hair pulled back in a style that made her seem approachable. Her eyes, though, told another story. There was a heaviness in them, a kind of sadness that lingered even as she smiled politely. They shook hands, and Daniel, with his usual humility, said, "Pleasure to meet you." He didn't know that he was shaking hands with one of the wealthiest women in the state, a billionaire whose name appeared in business magazines and financial news headlines. He didn't know because Claire had chosen not to arrive in her chauffeur-driven car that night, nor to wear diamonds or designer brands. She had wanted to be just a woman at a party, unseen, unjudged, unnoticed. At first, their conversation was small, about the weather, about how Mark always overcooked on the grill, about the music playing softly in the background. But something about Daniel's sincerity disarmed Claire. He didn't talk about himself to impress, instead, he asked her about her favorite books, about what made her laugh, about her childhood memories. For the first time in a long while, Claire felt seen for who she was and not for what she owned. She laughed, genuinely, freely, when Daniel shared a story about his daughter Emily painting a mural on their apartment wall with crayons, declaring it, art worth millions. The night went on, and though the party swirled with noise and chatter, Claire found herself returning to Daniel's corner. He was different from the people who usually surrounded her, those who tried to curry favor, flatter her, or angle for business deals. Daniel listened. Daniel cared. And Daniel, without knowing it, gave her something money had never been able to buy, peace. But beneath her graceful smile, Claire's heart was quietly crumbling. She was falling, not in wealth but in spirit. Despite her billions, she was lonely. Despite her power, she felt powerless in matters of the heart. She had faced betrayal from those closest to her, partners who used her, friends who envied her, even family who treated her like a bank rather than a sister or daughter. The weight of carrying empires on her shoulders while starving for genuine connection had hollowed her. That evening, when she walked into the party, she wasn't looking for love, she was searching for something to remind her that life was still worth living. The unexpected came later, when most guests had left. Claire lingered, and so did Daniel, helping Mark clean up empty bottles and stack chairs. When he noticed Claire carrying heavy trays toward the kitchen, Daniel instinctively rushed to help. "Here, let me take that," he said, gently relieving her of the load. She laughed softly. "You don't even know me, yet you're always ready to help." He shrugged. "That's what we're here for, isn't it? To make each other's burdens a little lighter." Those words struck her. They weren't polished, they weren't rehearsed, they were real. That night, as they parted ways, Claire found herself smiling in the car ride home for the first time in months. Days turned into weeks and their paths crossed again, sometimes through Mark, sometimes by Claire's own quiet arrangement. She never revealed her identity as a billionaire. She wanted to be just Claire. And Daniel, oblivious to her world of private jets and boardrooms, treated her like a friend, sometimes teasing her for being clumsy when she dropped her coffee, sometimes listening patiently when she spoke of vague work struggles, without realizing she was talking about multi-million-dollar negotiations. He shared stories of Emily, her dreams, her drawings, her love for pancakes on Sunday mornings. And Claire listened, her heart slowly healing with every laugh, every shared silence. The turning point came one rainy evening. Claire had invited Daniel and Emily to a small art exhibit in the city. Emily's eyes lit up as she wandered through paintings, whispering to her dad, "Someday, I'll paint something like this, Daddy." Daniel chuckled, brushing her hair affectionately. But later, when Emily stopped at a canvas she adored, Daniel quietly read the price tag and felt his chest tighten. It was worth more than his yearly salary. Claire noticed the flicker of pain in his eyes, the way he pulled Emily gently away, distracting her with another piece. That simple moment pierced Claire's heart deeper than any business failure ever had. She realized how much this man carried, how much he gave up silently, and how much he loved without complaint. That night, after walking them to the bus stop because Daniel couldn't afford a cab, Claire sat in her car and wept. For the first time, she wanted to use her billions not for business empires or charity galas, but to change the lives of two people who had unknowingly changed hers. But how could she reveal the truth? Would Daniel feel betrayed? Would he pull away, thinking she had been mocking his struggles by hiding her wealth? Fear gnawed at her, but her heart knew she couldn't keep living behind a mask. The revelation came unexpectedly one evening at Daniel's small apartment. Claire had come over for dinner, homemade spaghetti that Emily proudly helped cook. They sat around a little wooden table, laughter filling the cracks of peeling wallpaper, the warmth of family outshining the absence of wealth. After Emily went to bed, Claire looked at Daniel across the table, her eyes trembling with unspoken truth. "Daniel," she whispered, "there's something I need to tell you. I haven't been completely honest about who I am." Daniel frowned slightly, concerned. "What do you mean?" Her voice shook. "I'm not just Claire. I own companies, businesses. She hesitated, then exhaled. "I'm one of those people you probably read about in business magazines. I'm wealthy, Daniel. Very wealthy." Silence hung heavy. Daniel leaned back, his expression unreadable. Then, quietly, he said, "So what? That doesn't change who you are to me. I didn't care about your bank account when we met, and I don't care now. You're Claire. That's all." Tears spilled down her cheeks. She had feared judgment, rejection, or resentment, but instead, she found acceptance. For the first time, she wasn't a billionaire or a business mogul. She was just a woman, loved for her laughter, her kindness, her soul. The weeks that followed were filled with transformation. Claire invested not only in Daniel's dreams but in Emily's too. She surprised Emily with art supplies, not expensive canvases at first, but simple sketchbooks and paints that encouraged her creativity. For Daniel, she offered something more profound than money, she gave him partnership. Together, they started a small community project, funding art classes for underprivileged kids, creating spaces where love and hope could grow. Their love didn't blossom through grand gestures but through everyday kindness, Sunday pancakes, late-night talks, long walks where they planned a future built on trust and simplicity. Daniel had given Claire something priceless, the reminder that love and humanity mattered more than wealth. And in return, Claire gave Daniel and Emily the chance to dream bigger, to live freer, to feel less burdened. The climax of their journey came one bright spring morning, when Emily's artwork, funded by those very supplies Claire had given, was chosen for a local exhibition. Standing in front of her painting, tears streaming down her face, Emily whispered to her dad, "We made it, Daddy." And Daniel, holding Claire's hand, finally understood, this was more than fate. It was the miracle of two worlds colliding, poverty and wealth, despair and hope, loneliness and love, and creating something beautiful. In the end, the story wasn't about a billionaire falling fast or a poor dad rising high. It was about humanity, about the truth that no matter how much money we have or don't have, what we all seek is love, kindness, and connection. Daniel and Claire proved that the richest life is not measured in dollars, but in moments that heal, inspire, and remind us that we are never truly alone. And so, their story became a testament, that sometimes, the people who seem worlds apart are brought together not by circumstance, but by the quiet power of compassion, humility, and love.